Hello, friends. My name is Charmaine from To a Child, where we talk about spirituality and mental health. And as I promised in the last video, I would update you on the other chickens. So I brought with me today Francine. Francine from the coop. Francine from Moulin Roost, even though she hasn't moved into the roost yet. Francine is a Polish hen. I got Francine here April 5th. And that makes her almost 2 months old now. Still really hoping it's a her. And we're hoping that Simone is a her too. But these guys are fun and they're beautiful. And look at this little poofy hat. Anyway, I'll be looking for a person with a 3D printer to print out some little arms with a cigarette attached to the hand for my little poofy hat friends here. I'm going to bring Francine here back to the coop because as I left the coop with Francine, everybody else came to the door like, hey, where you going? And I'm kind of hoping they all stayed inside the dog run. So we're going to go check that out here, aren't we, Francine? Let's see. Francine. Oh, okay. Well, bless you, Francine. Francine. Francine has made herself comfy on my hand. So I'm going to bring back to her friend so she can make herself comfy in the coop. And preferably before she poops on me. A lot of people have told me I'm a little crazy for getting chickens, but for me, it's probably one of the better decisions that I have made. I'm glad I have these pets to keep me up and active, and being gone all month has been very difficult on me and the pets, and so I am glad to have a weekend off to get to touch base with my channel. So today I want to talk about journaling because I just came home from a couple of back-to-back trips and I didn't have time in between to journal about the previous trips. So coming home with back-to-back experiences over almost half the month, it was something that in the past would have been near impossible for me to recount because I was not able to practice presence when I was out and about. I was stuck in survival mode for so long that I couldn't experience any moment for what it really was. And so that's when mindfulness became very important to me because mindfulness kept me in the present and kept those past survival skills from popping back up. Now, it sounds simple, mindfulness, but mindfulness is actually a whole bunch of different skills altogether. And so it is not an easy process to learn or even learn how to make changes in order to learn these abilities. So I want to talk about journaling because journaling for me allows me to write down those experiences, put them to paper so that I have them to recount later. In therapy, I've had to keep a lot of notes, homework, journals, all sorts of different things. And even though I didn't like doing them and I hated doing them, and sometimes I didn't do them, and I'd have to do the homework that you get an extra for not doing them, which I really, really hated too. So I would just learn to do my homework so I didn't have to do the extra stuff that I hated. I learned in a weird roundabout way. Anyway, in doing that, though, I have a lot to look back on through the past many, many years of therapy. I even have a couple of journals from when I was like a teenager. So I have material that goes pretty darn far back. Now, being able to look back at that stuff now is like a priceless chart of growth for myself. I can see how I once was and how I've changed and how I struggled in those changes. I can even see when I was causing myself my most misery because of my refusal to make changes that would make me feel better ultimately, because in the short term, they kind of felt uncomfortable. The avoidance of being uncomfortable was starting to wear me thin, because in the long run, I was the one ultimately hurt in those instances. Those journals show me so much growth from then to now. Now, my internal dialogue, especially when I'm alone and it's quiet, is such a vastly different place than it used to be, due purely to the changes in my own thoughts that I have had to make. And that means always catching myself when I trip up and correcting myself, and not doing it in a mean, harsh, punishing way, but in a loving, kind, compassionate way. What I know about myself is that I am very social and I do like to talk to people. And when I leave the house and do the events that I do or travel the way I do, I get all of that. But then when I come back home and it is quiet, it is still up to me to maintain my mental health while I am not in the presence of other people. So as I do that, I find that journaling helps me immensely, because I can process thoughts on paper the way I would talking to a friend. When I'm writing in my journal, I'm writing down everything that, say, I want to tell my best friend in the world when I'm talking to them. Because if I can tell them things or hear it coming out of my mouth, what I'm saying, sometimes I can think I can find places where I can take little choices to change things and make my life better. But I can't do that. I have to bounce my ideas off of something. And instead of it having to be a person, I mean, it can be a person. I can talk to friends. But sometimes I find that my friends are going through their own things and they really don't really have the time, or they don't have the capacity to pay attention to what is actually going on in my life. So I have to kind of let them live their own lives, but I still need to process myself. And so journaling helps me do that, because journaling is just that. I'm putting down exactly what I'd be telling my best friend: what happened, what I saw happen, what I felt, the amazing things, the things that might not have been so amazing, the hard times, and now I have them on paper. And once they're on paper, it's like I've bounced them off somebody. Like, I don't get anybody's outside ideas, but I can at least see what I've written and also take a non-judgmental stance on it, stand back, and then ask myself, what kind of advice would I give myself if I were my best friend? My best friend who has my best interest at heart. What would they tell me about the situation that I just wrote down? And sometimes I can come up with my own solutions to, like, a lot of the problems that I have in my life. And what I've found sometimes is that if I sit and do that, it's better for me, because I am actively working on my own language and keeping it non-negative in my head. Like, I'm trying to keep that negativity at bay. I'm battling any negativity that comes out in my head, and I'm countering it with positive thoughts that are actually true, because I've had my thoughts lying to me for years, and it takes an active intention to change that in your brain. And so as I'm actively, intentionally changing those things in my brain, um, I'm able to step aside when, say, my friend doesn't really hear me talking about anything that's going on with me because they have something really important going on in their life. And, there's nothing wrong with that. We all have times when things are important in our lives. And, our friends kind of have to take the back seat. It is part of self care to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. But that also means that sometimes you might run into a place where you don't have anybody to talk to. That's when journaling's going to come in handy. That's when you take up the pen and the paper and the special book or the binder or whatever it is that you're writing in. I like to have my special notebooks and write down all of your thoughts. Put them all on paper. Reread what you wrote. And then ask yourself important questions like, what is your need? If you're angry or if you're frustrated, you have a need that isn't being met. So, what is that need? And is there a way for you to kind of look at this paper of what you have written down, your emotions and everything, and find your way through all on your own? We all need friends sometimes, and we all need people to talk to. However, not all people are going to hear all the things that you need to say at all the times that you may actually need to say them. And so, in those instances, I'm saying maybe try journaling, and it may help you find maybe some quick answers or help you solve some sort of problem in your life that you're struggling with. I hope that you'll give journaling a try. Journaling isn't for everybody. I know that some people don't like words. Some people don't like writing stuff down. You know, I knew a person once who kept their journals on little digital recordings. So it was all on their computer and their journal was there. I know other people that have to have their journal on paper in some sort of secret looking notebook stashed away on a shelf that is nondescript because they have a fear of the government finding it or a lot of other things. And there isn't anything wrong with that either. Whatever way you keep your journal, try to keep a journal. That way, a year from now, you can look back and see what it is you were going through, see if something's changed. And if something hasn't changed, then maybe it's time to make those choices that are going to bring about the change that you're looking for. Journaling has helped me when I have gone into crisis. But for those times that I have gone into crisis that journaling was not helping, I did not hesitate to call 988. It wasn't 988 back then, but that is the number for the crisis hotline now. If you are struggling, if you are going through a life change that is harder than you expected, if you've experienced a loss, or if you are suicidal, please call 988, the National Crisis Hotline. Oh, I would like to update you that I have fixed most of my website, Buzzsprout site, and YouTube site as well. The Facebook is no longer. Still looking for any advice as to which platform to be on. But for now, you can reach me on my website at my email address, charmaine@towhichild.com. You can find me on Buzzsprout, which posts all the places that podcasts are. And if you'd like to see the chickens or my sunshiny, cheery face, you may check me out on YouTube, To a Child. As always, take what resonates with you and leave the rest. From me and all of the chickens here at Z Chateau, Banana, Kiwi, Francine, Simone, Ghost, Karma, Pepper, and Sprinkles, we wish you nothing but light and love, friends.